Hello and welcome back to our Science Interactive Notebooks. Today we will be continuing to look at animal structures, so the things that help to basically will help animals survive, all different types of animals, the things that support them. In their ability to continue living, find food, find mates, continue to exist as a species. But today we will be looking at the internal animal structures, which are the things that are on the inside. Last time we looked at external, it was a while ago, but last time we looked at external animal structures. This time we'll be looking at internal animal structures. So what you're going to need is your Science Interactive Notebooks, the page that says internal animal structures, but actually the page we want is the one below this one that looks like this. So you'll see it says internal animal structures up at the top. It says bones, muscle tissue, brain, and lungs. Okay. You'll also want a pen or pencil to take the notes, scissors to cut this out, glue to glue it into our notebook, and some colors to make it look nice. All right. So let's put this stuff aside really quick. And we're going to flip to the last page we worked on, which again was this one here. It was page 22 in our book. External animal structures. You see we looked at fur, teeth, spines or shells, and claws. We're going to flip that over, and this will be page, since the last one was 22, this will be page 23. Mark at the bottom and up at the top, just like I did here. I'm going to put my title, Internal Animal Structures. Internal, I-N-T-E-R-N-A-L, animal structures. S-T-R-U-C-T-U-R-E-S. All right. And last time, like I said, we looked at external, things that are on the outside. Internal is the opposite. It means inside. I'll zoom in there for you guys. Oh, focus. Thank you. Internal or inside animal structures. So again, we have this page here. So what we will do now is cut this page out so that we can glue it into here. So for this, I'm going to cut just along the dotted lines, this rectangle on the outside. All right, so internal, inside. So these are obviously things that we do not see when looking at an animal. There are also things that we humans have. We humans are, as you may or may not know, humans are animals. Okay? And because we are animals, we are not plants, we are not rocks, right? We are animals by nature. We have things that separate us from other animals, but we share a lot of the same structures, especially the same internal structures as many other animals. And these are very common in many different animal species, not all, but almost every animal will have some form of these. We see there are animals without bones, right? Jellyfish don't have bones, earthworms don't have bones. Most insects don't have any bones, they have exoskeletons, or like we saw with worms, no bones at all. But almost every animal has a brain. Almost every animal has some sort of muscle tissue, right? That helps it move. Muscles are what we use to move. And most animals have some sort of lungs. Even fish can have lungs. But definitely animals that live on land will have lungs. All right. So now what I want to do is fold along these lines here, these black lines. I want to fold along the black lines towards the middle. So I have this nice, I have my black line on the outside towards the middle here. Do the same thing here. If I move too fast, remember you can pause the video or rewind as needed and fold that one there. So now I have two. It's okay if they overlap a little bit. All right, so now, much like I did here, where I have my 4 rectangles, I'll have my 4 rectangles here. I'm going to glue this part into my notebook. So to do that, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to glue in here. And then I'm going to cut. So as it's gluing, I want to cut along these dotted lines so that these flaps will open separately. Okay. Because again, like we did before, I'm going to write my notes underneath each flap that corresponds to the notes I'm writing. All right, so now we'll see we have brain, bones, lungs, muscle tissue, 4 different flaps where I'll be able to write my 4 different notes. Now, for each of these boxes, again, like I did on my last one, I'm going to color them with different colors to differentiate them. So let's start with the brain. What color will go? You can choose any colors you want for brain. I'm going to choose red. Okay. And I'm just going to quickly color this in. And again, if you want to take your time, spend more time coloring, that's great. You can just go ahead and pause the video and take the time you want to color it in nicely. You can see I'm just kind of rush coloring. But either way, if you want to kind of rush through and just get the color on there too, that's fine as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Because again, the color is there more so that it stands out from the rest of them. All right, so brain. Brains, of course, are inside of our skulls. They're in our heads. Okay, and that's true for most other animals as well, with some rare exceptions, but the brain serves a similar function in all animals. Okay, the brain is used to process, so it processes information from the animal's senses. What does that mean? Okay, well, we take in information. We do the same thing. Animals do it using their senses. Some are better with certain senses than others. But as humans, for instance, we see things, we hear things, we smell things, we touch things, right? We can even taste things. And that gives us information. The brain is where that information is delivered and processed. What do I mean by processed? Well, if you see something, okay, your eyes don't understand what you're seeing. They just see lights, they see colors, they see movement, right? But your eyes don't actually understand what you're seeing. They're just taking in that information. But the visual information that your eyes see goes into your brain, and your brain puts it together. So that if you see a black cat running across the lawn, right, all your eyes see is black, movement, shape, color. But in your brain goes, oh, that color is black. That black shape is a cat. That movement is that cat running, right? And it's running across a green lawn. So it's in your brain that you're able to understand what you're seeing. Same thing with smell, same thing with hearing, right? So it's the brain that is in charge of making sense out of what your senses pick up, right? Of understanding what you're seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, okay? And when you feel confused, that's because your brain is not understanding what your senses are, the information that it's telling them. That's what confusion is, right? If you see something you don't know what it is, it'll cause you to be confused. If you hear something you don't know what it is, you could be confused, okay? But the brain is always working on processing this information. It also helps to make sure that everything is working properly inside your body. Okay, but big function would be to process all the information that you gather from your senses. Again, the five senses are sight, so what you see, hearing, what you hear, touch, what you can feel, taste, what you can, you put into your mouth and you taste, or smell, what you get through your nose, the smells you can get through your nose. All right, the next one would be our bones. Let's color this one. I'm going to color this one. Yellow doesn't usually stand out, so I'm going to color this one blue. All right, our bones. We know what our bones are. It's part of our skeletal system. They're those hard things, right, inside of our body. They hurt if you break them or bruise them. Right, but what function do they serve? Okay, why do we need bones? Well, bones are there to support the body. What do I mean by that? They keep it up, right? They keep it from dissolving into a puddle of goo. They also help with movement. It helps movement. It helps us get around. Now, obviously, the bones aren't moving us. We'll see later it's the muscles that move us by contracting and expanding, right? Muscles are what keep us moving, but without the bones, muscles are attached to the bones and other muscles. Without the bones, the muscles would have nothing to move. Like I said, it would be a pile of goo. So muscles are moving our bones in different ways, and that's what helps with the movement. The other thing that bones help with or do is they protect our internal organs. Many of our organs are hidden behind, especially the important ones to keep us alive, are hidden behind muscles or underneath muscles. So our brain is inside of our skull, right? Our skull is you can feel it if you tap it, is this hard bone or collection of bones in our head. And the brains are inside of that. That way, if we fall down or if something hits us in the head, we fall down hit our head, we have our skull to help protect our brain. Because without our brain, we wouldn't be able to stay alive. Okay? Same thing. Your heart is behind your chest plate, You can feel that hard bone in the middle of your chest is your chest plate. Okay, and it is where all the ribs are connected. Those ribs also help protect our lungs and our heart, because without our lungs and our heart or our brain, we couldn't be alive. Now our stomach and our intestines aren't protected by bones. It's not that they're not important. They're not as important as the brain. We still need them to stay alive, but we need those to be able to expand and contrast a lot more. And we need those to be able to bend. So if they're hidden behind bones, we wouldn't be able to bend over, bend back to the side, wouldn't be able to move around as much. So that's why you don't see bones there. And we have muscles instead that are used to protect those. Anyways, some of the major things that bones help us do is support the body, helps movement, and protects internal organs. So those important organs we have inside. All right, moving on to lungs. Lungs, let's color green. I need to sharpen all these pencils pretty soon. Again, you can color whatever color you want, take as long as you want. I just want to make sure I get color on here so that these all stand out from each other. Our lungs. Lungs are where we take in oxygen and we breathe out carbon dioxide, right? Those are the organs in our chest. We have two of them, one on each side. When you breathe in deep, you can feel them expand and it pushes out our chest. And when I breathe out, our chest goes back in, right? And we're breathing out that carbon dioxide. Sorry, there's our lungs. Okay? So our lungs are those organs inside that allow us and other animals to breathe. Why is that important? Well, we've talked about oxygen, right? We need oxygen to stay alive. Land animals for sure need oxygen to live. And actually, even fish and other animals in the sea, a lot of them need oxygen to survive. It's just they process it and they get it from the water. And it's a different process. And they may have lungs. Actually, most water animals have lungs or some sort of lungs. They just are able to draw out oxygen from the water. All right. But anyways, lungs will allow the animal to breathe. And breathe what? Breathe, let's put that in. Oxygen. O-X-Y-G-E-N. I think that's important. So allow the animal to breathe oxygen. So breathe in oxygen, breathe out carbon dioxide in most cases. Why is oxygen important? Oxygen is what our body needs to survive, right? We need oxygen in our brain for our brain to survive. All our organs need oxygen. Our blood needs oxygen. Okay? Without that oxygen, these organs shut down. The brain shuts down, the heart shuts down, our organs like our stomach and intestines shut down. They can't work. Okay? If we're not getting in oxygen, our heart may be pumping blood, but without oxygen in that blood, the blood isn't doing anything in our body. Okay? The heart's job is not just to pump blood, but to pump oxygenated blood to different parts of the body to make sure that our body is filled with fresh oxygen. Okay? So, without that, like I said, our important organs shut down. They don't work without that oxygen. Okay? So lungs are extremely important, and that's why we see, again, the lungs are hidden behind our ribs in our chest, right? So that if we were to be hit in the chest or hit in our upper body, we have not only muscles up there, but we also have bones that help protect those, okay? Because they're vital, what we call vital organs. All right, so the last one we're going to look at is muscle tissue. Let's color that one. I did blue, I guess orange. Color that one orange. All right. Now muscle tissue, it's like saying muscle, right? What we think of as muscle is muscle tissue. Tissue is the word we use because muscles aren't just one solid muscle, right? If I think of when we think of muscles, we might think of someone's arm or leg muscles, right? The bulgy ones that can stick out. If you're a weightlifter, you lift weights, you get strong, and you get your big muscles, right, that stick out when you flex. Well, those muscles aren't just one thing. It's not like when someone flexes their arm and you see that big, like round bulge on their arm. That's not just one muscle. It's a collection of muscle tissues, okay? And this tissue is all compacted and formed together to form each muscle, okay? And that's why if you're to get cut on your muscle, the tissue can repair itself. And it can really hurt if you tear a muscle or you pull a muscle, but our bodies are good at repairing themselves, so it can repair itself. But that muscle tissue, like we talked about, why do we need it? Well, along with the bones, it's how we move. And actually, it's the muscle's job to be the primary mover for us. So muscle tissue, how does it do that? It contracts and expands, okay? Contracts and not really expands, but it contracts and relaxes is a better word. Muscle tissue contracts and relaxes to allow animals to move. And that's not only to like walk around, but every movement we make, okay, no matter how small, we need muscles in order to do that, okay? So even, I know it's kind of close, but even like to move my finger up and down, right? If you move you can try that. But if you just move your finger up and down, you're using all these different muscles. So when I pull my finger down, right? When I bend it down, you can, if you touch the muscles there, you can feel them contract and expand, or contract and relax, okay? And when I work one muscle, I'm usually working a couple different muscles, okay? And that's happening every time we do any sort of movement, is we're using those muscles to contract. Contract means to get smaller, and relax, that kind of ease back. So that's where I say maybe kind of think of it like expanding back, but contract means to close up or get smaller. So we think of tightening muscles, right? If we flex, like I said before, we think of tightening our muscles, okay? That's one form. But that's what our muscles are always doing as we move, okay? And even our heart, it's an organ, but it's also a muscle, okay? Our heart beats, right? And it's a muscle. It contracts and relaxes, and that's what allows it to pump the blood. So we have heart muscle tissue. We have our lungs have muscle tissue around them that allows them to open and close, or contract and relax, to allow us to breathe. So any part of our body that moves, it's for these muscles. And same thing with any animal. Animals that move are using muscles to do that. All right. Well, with that, that is the end of this one. Let me zoom out for you here. Oh, the one thing I wanted to add here, sorry, is let's expand and say what internal animal structures do. So we have internal animal structures, and I just want to write a quick sentence. Internal, just notice you guys can't see that. Let me zoom in. Internal, INTERNAL, structures are inside, just as a reminder, are inside the animal's body. Okay. So internal, we saw external ones were outside the animal's body. Internal are inside the animal's body. All right. Well, with that, we are done for today's lesson on internal animal structures in our Science Interactive Notebook. Thank you guys for following along. And I will see you next time. Take care. Bye.